Calling to order the Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light December 18th meeting at 6:31 p.m. On December 18th. This meeting is being recorded. Just waiting for one of the fellow commissioners, so it'll just be a moment.
While we're waiting, when I was reviewing the meeting minute notes from November 6th, there was a note about whether we can get a count of customers on the new rate.
Yes, we'll give an update. It's in the plan. So we are halfway through. There's somebody else trying to get in. Oh, Jeff. So we're halfway through the billing cycle in December, and Olivia and the whole team have been working really hard to convert the known ones over. So we can talk about it once the meeting's going.
Perfect.
Cool.
We'll be close to 1,000 on the A rate.
Yeah.
So
Got to call out Holyoke for their green power for the MGHPCC, so the Mass Green Computing Center that's sitting out there. And so the Mass AI Hub has started a AI cluster for the states and the university, other incubator type work. But it's all green. It actually will be one of the greenest AI clusters. So it was a pretty cool project to work on. So I got to work on it, and they dedicated it last week.
Very cool. What is the source of power?
Hydro.
Oh, hydro.
Yeah.
Holyoke's got a ton of. They're already at over 87%, is it? I think.
I don't.
The greenhouse gas emissions goal, because of all their hydro, they're at over 80%.
Oh, wow.
I think 87, I want to say.
But from a state perspective, so as the Mass Technology Council put together the Mass AI Hub and then cited it at the intersection of my professional life and public service and that type of work. So, all right. Welcome out to a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Downtown traffic.
All right. Okay. Going to section B, chair remarks. I know it's in there later on, but just wanted to say congratulations for the Lead by Example award recognition. And then also for all the heat pump rate work and all that stuff. And I'm really excited to hear about, and sorry, I couldn't attend the meeting, but I did make a couple of posts, and actually I had quite a bit of dialogue on Reddit on advertising that, and a bunch of questions and like folks going, I didn't realize we had multiple electric rates or multiple gas rates. And then was kind of brought to my attention that the billing code rate doesn't match our rate sheet on the webpage, and so I gave that back feedback. Joe has kindly already updated the webpage to reflect that. I think it's just makes it much more end user friendly, reduces questions about what gas rate am I on today? Like if folks don't know that. So thank you, Joe and team for doing that. So
This is the award,
the
the actual physical award that
that is very cool.
we received for the leading by example.
You want to tell them what the frame is?
Yes.
You have to guess.
Yeah.
The frame looks like pressed wood. Did it come from a telephone pole?
No. Recycled chopsticks. No kidding.
That is cool. Oh, I know. I see it. That is very cool. Yeah, and all the fellow commissioners that did get to attend, we can during your remarks. So passing it on to other commissioners.
I mean, so this leading by example awards, they do it every year. I think this was the 19th year that they were doing it, and they recognize public. They recognize different categories. So public colleges and universities, municipalities, individuals, and Commonwealth agencies. And I think, I think it was just, there were many reasons that I think WMGLD won this year. It wasn't just, our energy efficiency programs. It wasn't just the residential solar program. It wasn't just, the community solar program, but it was, I think, chiefly because of the energy park. So, I think it was I think that, I hope, we continue to lead in this way and demonstrate, our value, of our programs to the state. So,
Well,
congratulations.
and part of it was that it's a model that other communities can learn from and use. And so that is something they're always looking for, is exactly that, leading by example and showing others the way forward. So it's great to be one of the first. Congratulations.
Thank you. The team deserves a lot of credit. It's been a lot of hands to make a project like that go.
All right. Any other commissioner reports at this time?
I have one. So every year there's the Massachusetts Municipal Association has a conference. It's in January of this year. It's called Connect 351. So this is for government officials not in the utility space, all the other ones in our town. So within that, the MLCA, the Municipal Light Commissioners Association, as part of that, is planning to have an in-person get-together. That would be, so the conference is January 22nd to January 24th. So that's a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. This get-together would be Friday from 11:30 to 1:30. And to join, we would need to register for the conference because we can't really like segregate our participation from the rest of the events going on. So it's open to all commissioners. There's an agenda being put together now, and I can share it when we get it. And the conference fee is $329. And I was really hoping that under our conference budget, since I didn't go to NEPA, that it might be able to be supported to attend and participate. And if anyone else is interested, I'll share the information.
Where's the conference?
Oh, it's at the Seaport District. So low travel, no staying over.
It used to be all at the Prudential and the Hines for years and years.
Seaport this year.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, for many years though, it was always at the Pru and Hines.
Convention Center, maybe.
Yeah.
I think it might
New
be.
Convention Center, yeah.
And we would potentially see a bunch of our other friends in local government there as well. So there is and a shout out to Jeff, who's on the line. There's a cybersecurity on Saturday. There's a cybersecurity like actual table exercise. So.
Yeah, if you could share that information, that would be great.
Yep, I will share, and if anyone's interested, yeah.
All right, no town council liaison, no members of the public. All right. Moving on to section C, approval of the November 6th meetings.
Yes. I will make a motion to approve the minutes for discussion.
Any edits or changes? So what's it, what?
I submitted mine. Oh, fine to me.
Can I ask a clarifying question or two? So may or may not result in a change. On page 4, the second motion in bold says a motion to add in the vote for the seasonal heat pump tariffs. What do we mean by add in the vote? Were we just voting or?
To, page 4, motion approved it. Oh, hold on. Like,
It could be just approved.
Or to approve? That's
Yeah,
what I was thinking. I didn't know otherwise what we would have been doing that would have been different from that.
if I remember correctly, that we needed to make a motion to take the vote, on the tariff.
Okay. So this is a motion to take a vote on
Yeah.
the rate.
Yeah, because we closed the meeting, the public meeting. And,
Oh, yeah, so the next one was to
Yeah.
approve it, yeah, so this one was to have a vote.
Yeah,
Okay.
so because it was, we didn't know if there was gonna be any public input to change it.
Okay. Perfect.
Right.
Great. And then on page 5, I just noticed that the mention of the town council liaison and members of the public appears twice. Once at the top and once towards the bottom. And I wasn't sure whether that was necessary.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, I was
The
surprised.
top one looked like it might be, the bottom one looked more appropriate. Which
Yeah.
one is? I guess.
Well, the top, was it still in the hearing or not?
Yeah, so we did have a member of the public in the hearing.
Yeah,
Town council was
Not there.
not present, and
then we started the
we
meeting.
started the public meeting, and there was, the member of the public did not make any comments during the, meeting section, but
Okay,
did make a comment during the public hearing.
so do we need both of these mentions then in that case?
Well, because it was two separate official events, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, maybe to make it more clear, bring the,
Should they go before the vote?
yeah, it should, the top section probably should go into the public meeting.
At the beginning where we had called it.
Here, the public hearing.
Yeah, we can move it to the beginning of.
Yeah, because that's hearing.
Yeah, I was just having trouble following the beginning of this because we had the hearing and then we went into the meeting and it was like, okay. Okay, my last question is page 9, midway through. Where it starts with Dave mentioned, I just wanted to clarify that this section should go in here.
Yeah, we can probably, well,
We would like.
yeah, we should probably leave it out. Should have edited that out.
Which page are you on?
9.
Page.
Second paragraph.
It is
Yeah, 'cause you-
verbatim what we referred to, but I don't know whether, you wanted.
That it was not. The
Public
consumption yet. Maybe just shorten it to Dave mentioned that we have applied for a grant.
Yeah, which
and
is
keep-
focused on.
And it has a match.
Yeah.
And just keep it.
Okay,
And,
I think that's everything.
and that is still moving forward.
Okay, I'll be good to that. Jen, do you want to just amend your motion, accept as edited?
Yep, so I'll make a motion to approve the November 6, 2025 minutes, subject to edits we discussed.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain because I wasn't in that meeting.
Okay, motion passes 3-0 with 1 abstention. Please note that Commissioner Walshaw is not present. All right.
Have you heard from DOE on the grant? Did you say that it's moving?
Progressing. Yes, we have signed the contract, but have still been asked not to talk about it publicly.
Okay.
So they're preparing a big announcement.
Don't want to steal the thunder.
No, I understand.
Yeah, so
Not sure if there was
We actually-
communication, if
we
there was,
actually-
you actually got,
we
okay,
actually
you have an executed contract now. Okay, that's great.
So it's all positive, and so there'll be a meeting next week on our initial plan for what we're gonna attack first, so.
1/3, I think there's an announcement coming up if I'm,
Hmm?
I think there's.
Yeah,
an announcement coming up.
There was supposedly something on Friday, and then I think it got moved to next week, so. But yeah, they still asked us to not, like, publicly acknowledge it, so.
Keep repeating the same thing. You cannot talk about it publicly.
I just asked if you had any communication
Yeah.
with DOE. That's
Well,
all.
it's just-
I didn't ask about.
It's just interesting how they. keep-
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna have the projects done, and they'll still want us
I
to
know.
talk about it.
You can start work, but you can't talk about it.
All right. Section D, we'll introduce
Is that that's not a member of the public, right?
No, it's Tom Barry and Ryan Martin are
right.
both from MWEC.
Yep, so the MLEC annual update with Tom and Ryan with a subsection of the Stetson Wind project. And just Tom, I haven't seen you. Congratulations. And for the folks, if Tom and Ryan could just introduce yourselves real quickly, and then the floor is yours.
Yeah, super.
I was just
Thank
gonna
you
give
very
him
much.
a big intro that he's the new chairman and CEO. He's the new CEO of MWEC.
Hence the
he's-
congratulations. You can
He started in September. We're
I
happy
did.
to have him on board. Ron retired in September and Tom took over. And I don't know what Ryan's official title is, but Ryan Martin is one of our keys on the power supply side. And I know he has a new title, but I'm not sure what it is. So Tom, you can introduce Ryan's new title.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us. Ryan is our lead commodity analyst, and I asked him to join us today because he does a lot of the day in, day out legwork associated with much of the Wakefield portfolio, and he knows your portfolio better than most. And so I just thought it was a good opportunity to have him join us today. But thank you for having me. We really appreciate it. It was this time last year, I was trying to conduct this meeting from the corner of the New Haven airport with thousands of Christmas travelers around me. In my mind, it was a complete debacle, and I've apologized to some of you since that time. And I'll apologize again to those that I haven't, but I'm comfortably at my desk with my computer and no one with suitcases or little children running around me to make my efforts that much more difficult. So thank you for having us. Appreciate the opportunity. As Pete mentioned, I did assume the role of CEO in September. I'm very excited about the opportunity. I'm humbled by the trust people have put in me for that in that regard. But I'm very fortunate in that I've inherited a fantastic group of people here at MWEC that are day in, day out committed to public power and serving the members that we're lucky to serve. And so I could bend your ear for hours about MWEC, but I know our time is limited. And I do want to make sure that we cover a lot of the material that I've shared with you that's in your packet. I will say before I get started, congratulations on the Leadership Award. I know I shared with Pete that I've already had, I know that Leadership Award is a function of many different things, but the Energy Park is of great interest to many. I've already, and I've shared with Pete, had one general manager request that I reach out to Pete for a tour. I've had two since that time that I haven't shared with Pete yet that would like to do the same. So Wakefield is a bit of an envy of the marketplace with that project. And so there are many people that want to learn more and are excited about what you guys have accomplished. And I just wanted to share that. So with that said, we'll get started. We'll jump to does everybody have the material in front of them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tom, could you share so that it's recorded for those that don't? But possible.
Share what? I'm sorry.
Share the presentation that you're going to go through.
If you can, we can, Dave, can we put it up if we go to our website?
Or I have it if,
Yeah,
yeah, hold on.
I could try, or I could get my friend Ryan who could walk me through it, but I don't know. Whatever you think is easy.
I'll share it and you can just tell me next when you
Okay.
want to.
Super. I'm just going to go to that first page where the agenda is.
So see if I can make this bigger. How's that?
good.
That works for me. Does it work for everybody else?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, well, super. Well, what I'd like to do today, just a quick recap of the agenda. I wanted to briefly discuss winter 25 and Wakefield's hedging of that kind of extreme conditioned winter that we had. We had extreme weather, we had extreme circumstances that came about because of that weather, which caused extreme volatility in pricing. And I wanted to just quickly go through that because I've got a lot of material to cover in the short amount of time. Quickly go through that and then move on to more specific things to Wakefield, where we'll focus on Wakefield's current power supply, the resources within that portfolio, the hedging approach that Pete and his team have incorporated, and we're lucky to work with Pete and his team on that front. And then spend a little time looking at the progress made on the carbon neutral efforts. And then from there, I had hoped to spend a little time reviewing the Stetson deal, discuss the MWIC pooled loan financing facility that Wakefield capitalized on, and then to maybe spend a brief amount of time about some of the behind the meter assets that are of great value to that overall portfolio, and how Wakefield mitigates much of its risk. And then, if time permits, we'll do a little discussion of connected homes. I have a propensity to kind of talk fast. I've got a lot of material I'd like to share. You guys chime in. Let me know if you'd like to slow down, if there's something you'd like to kind of zoom in on a little bit closer, and we'll do just that. But again, to briefly recap, this past winter, it was a winter of extremes. We hadn't had really any winter to speak of going back all the way to 2022, so much so that people had kind of forgotten that it can get cold in New England. Well, it got really cold in New England this winter, and we learned quite a bit. And we learned how the market in New England is a volatile market, and that if you're not prudent in your efforts, that can be a painful endeavor. If you go to the next slide, on top of having that cold weather in the New England area, we had extreme circumstances surrounding natural gas, which is, when in peak periods, is still the resource of margin, and determines power prices in the area. And you'll see from this graph that natural gas prices in Louisiana, which are the traditional hub, weren't all that impressive. But once that gas finally made its way up to New England, it was around $17, $18, and the basis differential had blown out. All that's to say, the effect on the next page was that extreme weather and that the extreme circumstances brings about what you'd imagine, extreme volatility and pricing. And just to look at this graph very quickly, you'll see the line graph on the left part is power prices for power delivered in winter of 25, going back approximately 5 years. And you can see they were quite volatile. They started at 75, went up to 205, settled back down around 100, 110, and ended up liquidating just shy of 150 in January and 130, just above 130 in February. Why do I tell you all that? I mention all that because all that volatility can be incredibly painful if not managed correctly. And if we go to the next page, you'll see that there's no need to be subject to those fluctuations when you have a disciplined, structured hedging program in place like Wakefield does. And, you know, Pete and his team have done a fantastic job on not concerning themselves with that volatility and doing what we call dollar cost averaging along the way, so that the pricing is always kind of known. You're never going to catch the bottoms. You're going to avoid the tops. but you're going to have stable prices, which is really one of the major mandates of any of the general managers. So I mentioned all this briefly to say we had a really cold winter. Not a lot of people fared as well as the town of Wakefield because of Pete and his team. Wakefield entered this coming winter hedged just north of 85% of all of their supply. And so very little was left to the whims of the market. And so just job really well done and mitigated much of that risk. With that said, if you go to the next page, I'll include one little bit. Much of a hedging program is a function of fixed pricing and locking in fixed pricing, but we're dealing with a commodity that isn't so nice and has many different variables. And one of the offsetting risks that takes advantage of those unforeseen moments, or one of the components of a portfolio that really mitigates those unforeseen moments, is owning assets. And I mentioned this, Wakefield has a large percent ownership in Stony Brook, which is traditionally a capacity play in the past, but in peak periods like this past winter, there's also an energy component of it. And when you're long an asset, you're really simply long a call option. You're long volatility. You can point to an asset and pull from the resources of that asset when you go into those extremes. And I included this one slide to highlight for you. On top of that 85% locking in of pricings and not being subject to the whims of the market, Wakefield and those others that own pieces of assets like Stony Brook can capitalize when there's serious weather conditions like we saw this past January. With 13.7 megawatt ownership of Stony Brook, that added approximately $195,000 to in avoided costs or mitigated risks during this volatile winter. So I say all this to just, I'm a strong believer in none of us know when the market's at its low or when it's at its highs. We'd be doing something completely different in our careers. And it's people like Pete and their approach. And I'd like to think working with them and focused on a disciplined, structured approach to mitigating risk that has served the town of Wakefield so well. So that's just a real quick review of this past winter. My hope was now to move on to some more specific Wakefield material. If you go to the next page, please, you'll see this is a load graph that we discussed a bit last year. And it's a 5-year load forecast in terms of megawatt hours. It's specific to Wakefield. It's a load forecast that we update Wakefield with every quarter. And that load growth is something we discussed a bit last year. This is a 5-year load growth. That load growth early on was kind of, this is a while back, based more on static percentage increases. But now we're getting more dynamic in our process of load forecasting and going out the curve. And so that load growth that you see in this chart is based on ISO New England's, what they call the CELT annual growth estimates. And so every year ISO New England puts out their estimates for the region. And we take that information as our base case. But it's not as simple as that. We work closely with Pete and his team it's a two-way effort in that, you guys may be having new assets, new load coming on. We try to incorporate, we insist on incorporating that. And so it comes from this base CLT number, but all MLPs are different, have different new projects coming on. And so we work closely with Pete and his team to incorporate those new projects so that we always have a really good handle on load forecasts. I am happy to say that if you look at this past year, load forecast and actuals have been very, very, very next to, almost on top of one another. And that's always great to see. But I highlight that this is not.
We're projecting right now to come in at the end of the year at 99.3% of the forecast. So that's pretty darn good.
Yeah. So that's always exciting to see. So that's the load growth we have. As I mentioned, the analyst group that Ryan's part of and I'm lucky to work with are work very closely with Pete and his team to on many different fronts, much of which is always making sure that we have a good grasp of what the load looks like going forward and how things might deviate from those ISO New England CLT numbers that we get on an annual basis. If you jump to the next page, please. You'll see, like last year, and I don't know if you could hear me over the screaming kids, I've broken out just some of the resource mix, and I don't want to take a tremendous amount of time. I'm going to blast through these couple pages. You're welcome to come back and ask me questions on it, but you'll see here, here are the nuclear resources and the consumption or the generation, excuse me, for the calendar year 2025. The next page is the hydro generation within the Wakefield portfolio. Next page is the wind generation within the portfolio, solar generation within the portfolio. But with all that said, I kind of want to jump ahead to page 15, and you'll see this is kind of a 5-year average. Oh, I'm sorry. Page 15.
Donut.
With the donut?
With the donut, thank you. Thank you. And this page here is just kind of a summation of those individual resources. And let me take a moment to just explain this. You guys obviously know what the nuclear is and the hydro and the solar. The system power is a representation of things along the lines of bilateral contracts where we've locked in fixed price power for an extended period of time. There's many different bilateral contracts currently in place, and I'll get into that in just a minute when we talk about how we initiate and continue to put in place our hedging program. The big number there is this interchange number, the 34%, and that looks like a very concerning number when you look at this as standalone. Please don't be. This is a 5-year forecast. If you go to the very next page, much of the hedging that we do for Pete and his group in the town of Wakefield, and for all the MLPs we're lucky to work with, is that we have a program in place, as I mentioned earlier, where we do dollar cost averaging, where we take little bites of the apple going out the curve. And we do that in the front months. When I say the front months, kind of 2 years and in, because for a couple different reasons, most of which is that's where most of your volatility is in place, is within the first 2 years. And the farther you go out the curve, you really start, power is an interesting market. It's not so much like natural gas and crude oil where there's a liquid market going out 20, 25 years. Once you go out past 3 or 4 years in the power market, there's a risk premium. There's a pretty substantial risk premium that's embedded in the pricing. So what we do in working with Pete's team is we do this dollar cost averaging every 15th of the month. We make sure that within 9 months, Pete and his team is 100% of their predetermined targets, which, as we discussed earlier, is usually around 85% fixed price. And you'll see in this graph that all of 2025 it's the two bottom graphs of each year that represent the outstanding exposure. Obviously, most of 2025 has closed out, and you'll see the first 3/4 of 2026, all risk has been mitigated. As we roll to the next month, and it's a bit of fine print, I apologize, but I think that's September of 2026, that will decrease. And it's just this ongoing fluid effort to maintain this dollar cost averaging. So when you go back to that page I was just on, where that had that scary open position of 34%, that's just reflective of the open positions in the next 5 years, the large majority of which is in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th year. If this were to be a 2-year graph or donut, I liked how someone kind of referred to it that way, that interchange number would be substantially lower, closer to 15 to 20%. And so I offer this as just a quick glimpse of what Wakefield's forward resource mix looks like. And with all that said, if we can go back 2 pages, you'll see this is what we call the CET cost forecast. And CET is just an acronym for capacity, energy, and transmission, the major cost components of any MLP's portfolio. And this is what I always think of this as a balance sheet of where are we today? What assets do we have? It's kind of a combination of a balance sheet and kind of an income statement, because it's telling you what the assets you have, and it's breaking down what the costs have been over the year. And this is just that first bar. I'm pointing to it as if you guys can see where my fingers are. I apologize. That first bar is really just all the assets that I've broken out in the pages before, where you were looking at the solar, the wind, the hydro, and the nuclear. And it's on this page that you can see those costs for the wind projects, the nuclear projects and things of that sort. And the things that stand out for me, or that I'd like to draw to your attention to, are, my arrows when I was producing this and I was shrinking things, my arrows got a little kooky. But that first arrow is supposed to be in line with hedged power. I apologize. And so the hedged power, that those bilateral contracts that are in place, that was in that interchange number I referred to earlier, the cost on those hedged transactions is approximately $71. And if you go down, and again, I apologize, my arrows are off a little bit. I was trying to highlight open position power, which is reflective of things that are still open. And the cost estimate on that, based on forward market conditions, is around $67. And so this gives you just a kind of a Reader's Digest glimpse of the portfolio, the assets in the portfolio, their underlying costs, both from a capacity standpoint, an energy standpoint, and a transmission standpoint. So those are some of the things. And then if you go to the next page, you'll see the Wakefield. I'm sorry?
Can I ask a question on this?
Of course.
How do you forecast that open position power is going to be less than hedged power?
Because the hedged power is prices that have been put in place. So that's a known quantity. That forecasted power today is a function of the forward curve going out 5 to 10 years. So if you were to take so you could go out to the marketplace and request a price for April 2027. And so, or you could do it for November of 2028. That's $67.46 is the weighted average of the open exposure going out 5 years for open positions.
Okay.
Does this is help?
This is also over a 5-year period.
I think the open positions are a reflection of the 5-year forward curve.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. If you go to the next page, this is just more or less a graphic of that 5-year cost forecast. And as you'll see, we used to live and die by this chart. And you'll see in the left portion of the graph, the grays exceed the dotted reds. And that's a reflection of you've hedged, you have enough resources for your expected demand. And you see, as you go farther out, those red lines exceed the hedge position, and that's a function of, as I said earlier, you still have exposure in years 3, 4, and 5. We used to live and die by this graph, but we found that this graph is a reflection of around the clock. So it's a weighted average reflection of on-peak prices and off-peak prices. And what was dangerous about that was that the gray may have looked like it was Wakefield had matched its hedge position, but Wakefield may have been overhedged and off-peak and underhedged and on-peak, but the net average made it look as if Wakefield was in a good spot. So one of the things that I changed when I first got here was let's zero in a little further. And if you go to page 16, this is what we've done. We've broken it into on-peak and off-peak. And again, you don't want to have this false comfort that you're around the clock hedged when you have your off-peak risk overhedged and your on-peak risk underhedged. It's the on-peak prices that'll really kind of punch in the nose, and you need to make sure. So we've gotten more granular, we've gotten more detailed in our hedging efforts, and more important than anything else, we've gotten more structured in the way we do things. And I continue, and I apologize, refer to this monthly bite from the apple as this dollar cost averaging effort. It's not sexy, it's not exciting, but it achieves many of the goals that the general managers are focused on, which is reliable, stable rates. So that is much of the portfolio I wanted to just bring to your attention. And I know I'm blitzing through. I want to be cognizant of your time and not keep you here all night. I could talk about this stuff all night if you gave me the opportunity, but I won't do it to you. If you go to the next page,
Dave will have a problem with Zoom before you get to that.
All right. I know this is a page of great interest to many of you. We discussed it last year. And I'd like to spend a couple minutes here as well. You're all aware of the different metrics, mandates that are in place for the coming 2030, 2040, and 2050, 50% carbon neutral in 2030, 75% carbon neutral in 2040, and 100% carbon neutral in 2050. I'm happy to report that, Wakefield is in a great spot. If given all the factors today, I'm trying to read my small print here. I think it's 74% that is the current state of where we are on a carbon neutral point of view. And the exciting part about that is not only is Wakefield in a great spot, well above 2030 requirements or mandates, well in line for the 2040 mandates. The thing that I like to see, and Joe and Pete and I spend a bunch of time talking about this, is that I don't know if you remember this from last year, but last year was 70%. So there's continued improvement on this front, and my hope and goal, and I know it's a big hope and goal of Pete's, is that we continue in that regard in the coming year, and that I report to you next year that number is closer to 77%.
And that's where we project to be for 30, right, Tom? Because right now we're at about 54% as of today.
Yep.
But we're projecting to be over 74
For 2030.
for 2030.
That's absolutely correct.
Jen, I think you had a question or?
Well, this would take us back, but I guess one question I do have on this is Stetson Wind 1 and 2 is where on this graph? Sorry, the carbon graph.
Yeah, I don't think we have this Stetson deal is so fresh. I don't think we have it. Ryan, tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think we have Stetson in this transaction, so that will only improve that number.
Okay.
Because,
Ryan, is that correct?
or is it that light
This
blue
blue
line right
I
here?
don't know if that's it.
Oh, it is in there. I stand corrected. I'm sorry. It is in there. Ryan, you're on mute if you're. Oh, maybe we've lost Ryan. I don't know.
Dave, is he still on? Or is that everybody?
It's still on.
No, that is. I apologize. It is in there. It's that light blue. I didn't think, more credit to Ryan, I didn't think he had gotten it into the system because we just closed on the transaction within the past week, but he's once again a step ahead of me. It is in there.
Yep.
Okay.
Tom, can I ask a question on this graph? So there are two-step changes, one between 31 and 32, and then another one in 45, 46 on the non-carbon piece. What is that driven from?
The 45, 46, I think we have I think that's the Seabrook deal that expires. I don't know, Ryan, are you there? I'm thinking it's the Seabrook deal that expires in that period.
You're talking right here.
Yeah.
On the
The
lower
20
part, the darker green?
Yeah,
That's the one that
20
goes down.
Yeah. And we have all intentions of renewing that project. It just hasn't been renewed today. And that's the difficult, well, I don't know about the difficult, this graph doesn't reflect, it reflects what's in place today. It doesn't reflect future actions. That contract is expiring. If it is in fact what I think it is, that contract's expiring in that period. We have all intentions, and we've been in discussions with NextEra to renew that contract, and when that contract becomes renewed, it will be extended.
What is it?
Do you want to admit? I think there's somebody dialing in. That might be Ryan.
Yeah, right there. Okay.
Is that right? Ryan's coming to save me.
Ryan, did you just join by phone?
Mute. You're on mute.
Your phone's on mute if you did.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
There he is.
All right. Sorry about that. I got my computer froze. I still had audio, so I thought I was still in it, and I didn't want to make a big fuss. If we're still talking about Stetson Wind 1 and 2 is included in this graph. Now, Wakefield just took such a small sliver that it is a small blue line in this graph, and it is included. As you can see, it's right above what looks like the red-ish line. So apologies for the delay in that.
Thank you. Can I ask a question just about Stetson? What were what was the deciding factors for adding that to the portfolio?
Well, if you're done with,
Separate.
if you're done with this page, we can jump to the Stetson deal, but I don't want to rush anyone because I know this page is of great importance to everybody. But if you're done, if you're okay with this page, we can go right into the Stetson deal if you like.
Okay, or I didn't mean to.
No problem.
If anyone else has any questions about, I also have one other question on another slide.
Yeah, so do I. Can we
Yeah,
go back
please.
before we
Of
go
course.
forward?
Which
Of
slide?
course.
Do you want to go first or you want me
That-
to?
that-
I want
You go ahead,
16. Are
go
we
ahead.
both on the same? page?
No, I have a question about another
Okay.
slide.
Can you just give us a high level of what we're looking at on page 16? Like,
Of course.
that would just be helpful to orient. I don't think I've seen this before and I'm feeling lost.
Okay, sorry about that. So this is, let me break it down. This is the 5-year risk, a floating price risk that Wakefield has going out, again, 5 years. And so basically, we've worked very close with Pete in the past on what is and this is different things for different general managers. What is the appropriate risk tolerance that Pete as general manager has for the town of Wakefield? And traditionally, Pete and his team are shooting to be 85% hedge, fixed price hedge, mitigating any volatilities or not subjecting themselves to the whims of spot prices. So that if you look at the very top number, that shows you, well, let's look at the third number down. Do you see in 85, 85, 85, 80, 80, 80, 80, and then up to December, you see 85?
Yep, the targeted hedged percent row.
Exactly.
Yep.
So that's the predetermined risk that Wakefield has determined it is willing to take. And so working with Pete, he gives us those targets. If you look at the two lines above it, it shows you what percentage was hedged. Now, this is a better way to look at is maybe looking at January and February 2026 instead of, because Feb 2025 is said and done. But if you look at Jan 26 and Feb 26, again, you see that the target is 85%. And Wakefield is currently 89% hedged with their on-peak in January, 85% hedged for their on-peak in February, 91% hedged for their off-peak in January, and 85% hedged for their off-peak in February. So all that tells me is that I get concerned when I see numbers that are south of the predetermined targets. So as you can see, as you go further out the curve, you'll see in September 26, Wakefield is currently 68% hedged when it's shooting for 88, we're shooting for 80% hedged. And that's to that argument I made earlier that within 9 months, we are looking to have Wakefield completely 100% hedged of target. That September block in September 26, where there's still exposure, in the coming month, in fact, it happened just today, that September month went from being the 10th month out to being the 9th month out. So just today, because we deemed it the middle of the month, Wakefield and many other MLPs that we work with took little bites of the apple to mitigate the risk. Because that number, Wakefield needed to buy 2.5 megawatts of on-peak in September 26 and 1.5 megawatts of off-peak in September 26. We purchased that today because it's a scaled-in purchasing. For the coming 9 months, we try to get 100% of hedge target. 3 months after that, we try to get 85% of hedge target. 3 months after that, 70% of hedge target. And so it's a fluid, ongoing effort. And as nearby months, as time ticks on and the 10th month now becomes the 9th month or the 13th month becomes the 12th month, we ratchet up the purchases so that we're always within the predetermined targets. But that leaves that, and I mentioned this earlier, as you go out to 2025, there's some risk to take on. And again, I apologize, I'm repeating myself a bit. as that comes down the curve closer and we're able to, close out that risk at more reasonable, less risk premium prices, we'll do just that. So we get this green sheet. Ryan lives by it. I check it every week. And we have a corresponding sheet that I did not include, which is I'm from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. We call it the Tar Heel sheet because it's light blue. The light blue sheet reflects where you are based on the notion that we're trying to put in place that system I just mentioned to you. And you'll see many zeros in that light blue sheet, which means we're doing just what we plan to do. But I thought you'd maybe want to see this, that there's no risk in the nearby. There's staggered risk as you go a little further out. And then there's risk to be done as those months come closer to the nearby months. Did that make, I just said a whole lot there. Did that make sense?
Yes, that was really helpful.
Yeah.
I think it wasn't labeled on and off peak throughout, so I wasn't sure what all the different hedging was. So that's where that clarity helped a lot.
See, power nerds don't say on peak, they say 5x16. So
Now I know. Now I could join the
there you
club.
go. You're officially a power nerd now.
What does the 5x16 stand for?
The on-peak hours are traditionally the weekdays, so the 5 weekdays, and the 16-hour block. The 8 nighttime hours are considered off-peak. So 5x16 is considered on-peak. Depending on, some people say it differently. Some people say 7x8, 2x16. Some people say 2x24 and 5x8. You have some latitude there.
Okay.
But the on peak is always 5x16.
Okay.
Yeah,
Tom, I have a
second
question on page 13.
Of course.
The resources, behind the meter resources, have the light shift battery. And you
Yes.
have the Wakefield NEC battery and generators. So there's no capacity or energy associated with the light shift. Is that because they play in the market and they take that energy and capacity?
I'm gonna go spend. I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm gonna go spend a little time on the behind the meter assets, and it might make things a little bit clearer if.
Okay.
But as of right now, I believe, if I'm not wrong, Tom, we haven't been awarded any capacity benefit for that yet because the year is not over. So therefore,
Okay.
Correct.
no capacity benefit for the light shift because it started in June.
Okay.
So that won't be determined till the end of the year. What was the actual
Okay.
peak hour?
Yep.
Was I right?
Yeah, but this is a forecast, right?
It's a 5-year look forward,
But
isn't it?
I think that was.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
The table on slide 13, that's a forecast. All those are forecasted numbers, right?
Those are it's somewhat deceiving. It's 2025, so it's a bit of a combination of actual and forecast in the remaining.
Okay.
Yeah, so the light shift number right now, there will be a capacity benefit to that later on.
You won't see it until.
Right,
20.
Pete, you would see that. It's just because, like Tom mentioned, it's a 2025 forecast.
Right.
In order to receive capacity savings in 2025, the light shift battery would have had to capture the 2024 capacity peak. So it's just a function of the way the capacity savings actually work.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that number will be filled in the 26 chart.
And is there
Yeah,
going to be
you would see
a
that.
separate line for the generator there too, or no?
For the new generator as well, yes. That's actually just been,
Absolutely.
that's just actually been added in.
Yeah.
Added
in today.
That actually ran last week. And so and it did hit the peak so far for December. So
Are we gonna separate, I know we have the 3 generators now. Are we gonna label them as 1, 2, 3, or are they gonna be just lumped together as
Those ones get aggregated and then this will be separate.
Okay, so we'll have the 2 aggregated.
Yeah. So they added it to the member website. So the member website as of today has the addition of the the Energy Park generator. It also has and it has had the light shift battery,
Mhm.
and then the Wallace generators and the BB battery. Yeah.
Any other questions?
And then there's no transmission for the battery, the generator, there's no the resources behind the meter. There's no transmission benefit for those.
Well, it's an avoided cost to the actual
Yeah.
light department itself. We typically, with just the way the functionality of this forecast works, we don't include that number in here. But in theory, yes, there is.
Okay,
But as you'll see in just a minute, there's significant dollars that are avoided costs that we're going to get to.
okay,
Right. I mean, what we're looking at here is cost, not necessarily savings. So,
Right.
we don't want to have a credit on here. So that's really what it comes down to. What you're seeing in the capacity line item is more so cost associated with that.
okay.
Solar power doesn't do capacity. Right? That's right.
Which one?
Yeah, Elton was talking about like our solar project.
Yeah, I mean, other than the Cotton Solar, which is on the other side of the meter.
Yeah.
All our solar stuff in town doesn't have transmission or capacity benefit. It probably has minimal, but it's not calculated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What slide do you want to go to?
If you're ready, I don't want to rush anybody, but if you're ready, I'd like to go to page slide 18. So slide 18, there was a couple things I wanted. I know there was a Stetson deal was of great interest to the commission, so I wanted to briefly review that. I wanted to discuss the pooled loan financing that was put together for the energy park. Then spend a little time on some of the benefits of the menu behind the meter. Oh, look, I just noticed I have a silly typo there. Reek shaving. How did I not catch that? I'm sorry. That should be peak shaving. How can you look at something like 1,000 times and not see it, and then the time you're presenting it to someone, it stands out like a sore thumb?
Because you looked at it 1,000 times.
Right.
That's the problem.
Is reek actually a word that spell check didn't catch it as some kooky word? I guess the reek smell. Does that smells? Is that the
No
word?
idea. No, I don't think it's that one.
I think that's
Sorry about
I think that's a different one.
That one starts with a W.
Oh, there you go. Thank you.
Really?
Thank you.
New information.
I believe so.
Right. All right. Well, let's leave this page so I can.
Yeah, let's keep going, please.
embarrass-
We don't need to
Yeah.
talk about typos. Let's go.
All right. Page 19,
Dave's
please.
shutting off the Zoom at a certain point, whether we finish it or not.
All right. Well, I don't know. Ryan, do you want to take a second here? I haven't prepped Ryan, and I'm putting him a bit on the spot. You want to walk through this deal? Ryan was a big part of piecing this all together, and we're very fortunate to have him as a part of the team. And these deals, these PPA deals, take a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of back and forth, and Ryan was a big part of that. So, Ryan, do you mind? I'm going to put you on the spot, just kind of highlighting some of the major components of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Tom. So kind of like as the slide suggests, it's a 5-year power purchase agreement with 2 wind farms located in Danforth, Maine. Wakefield was able to secure a 1/10 of a megawatt, or forecasted to be about 353 megawatt hours per year, taking into consideration the 40% capacity factor. This asset is also coming with unit contingent specific RPS Class 1 RECs, which aligns with Wakefield's GGES standards and non-carbon goals. So just another great addition to their portfolio to kind of continue climbing the ladder on the 2% non-carbon increase year over year and getting to those 2030 goals. More importantly, though, the price for the bundled energy plus REC is $86 per megawatt hour. So we feel that is a very competitive price against what current market conditions show. This will be able to give Wakefield the opportunity to add to their non-carbon portfolio, but also have the opportunity to arbitrage the renewable energy credits if they see fit. These mass Class 1 RECs are typically one of the higher valued RECs in the GIS market or the NEPOL markets. So at $86 per megawatt hour, we feel that's a very competitive price against other products offered in this market. This PPA also provides a reliable source of renewable energy for Wakefield. And most importantly, it's a hedge against future energy and rec market volatility for the next 5 years, which is, one of the, like Tom alluded to, just kind of what we're trying to do with the dollar cost averaging program. Remove volatility. We're not going to catch the lows. We're going to avoid the highs and stuff like that. So this is a very strong asset that we were very excited that Wakefield was able to be a part of.
Mark, that's good when we get that price with the Rex, right?
Yes, that's correct. It is. Yep.
So is this a new install or has this been around for a while?
They said it was
It's been around.
So
2009,
Yeah,
just
it's-
a
2010.
bunch of capacity just became available? Or was it an
That's correct. Yeah.
expansion?
Nope. I believe some existing off-takers rolled off, probably those from the original build out.
Okay.
And we're fortunate enough to have, strong relationships with the suppliers and owner and operators that, they approach us with this deal.
I guess that was driving my question about like, how did this become available and why, did we jump on that?
Well, as Ryan alluded to, we are constantly reaching out. I mean, there's a pool of natural suppliers within the region. We are in constant communication with those suppliers. We are reaching out to them, or they're reaching out to us, and we were quite excited that this came about. This was really attractive pricing when you take the energy and the Rex component of it, and we knew that it fit into many of the MLPs we work with, their portfolios. So it's just a function of, I wanted to get into this in a little bit. Part of our value statement is hopefully finding these deals and bringing them to, in addition to this structured effort of bilateral contracts to mitigate risk, we should be out there combing the region for assets like this, and that only happens through ongoing conversations and relationships with people, and that's how that came about. And I will say we wish we could have gotten more. When we brought this to the members, there was great interest. The large majority wish they got more than we were able to get, but we are currently working with them on some alternative hydro options that we hope to bring. Well, we've already started to bring before Pete and his team, but bring more kind of specifics in front of them so that we can be adding things like that as well. But it's it's just kind of those lines of communication and maintaining them so that when these deals come about, that you're the phone call they consider making.
It's great. Really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it. If we could jump, unless there was any more questions about Stetson.
Already jumped.
Okay, perfect. I don't need to tell anyone in that room you're in about the energy project, but I did want to the energy park, excuse me. But I did want to highlight, as I mentioned, I like to think, what I've focused on, as I mentioned, within this new role, is doing a better job of getting out with the members and the general managers and presenting our value statement, presenting what we think we do well, presenting notions like, those deals don't just fall in your lap. It's a function of, getting out in relationships. The one thing, I wanted to take a second to highlight the energy park and the funding that went around it. This is a big part of the MWIC value statement. The way we're structured allows us to do financing in a way that no one else can replicate, and we can do it on behalf of the members we're lucky to work with, and we can do it in a way because of the nonprofit. I keep using this word structure. I apologize, but all of the savings and all of the everything gets passed through to the MLP. And so I'm constantly presenting to general managers and commissioners Many of the things I think we do well, or at least I'm trying to. But one big piece of it that sometimes goes unnoticed is the financing capabilities that we have and the ability to get financing in short order, structured in a way that fits the project, and placed within the MOP's books as so desired by those involved. But so anyway, I just mentioned it was an $8.7 million loan that was done with a subdivision of People's Bank. It was a rate of 4.62% fixed and reset 7 years out. The closing date was back on 11/24. And I don't do this to toot my horn. I do this to toot people like Haley, who's our treasurer, and our staff. This loan came about in about 45 days. And I'm so fortunate to have a team that within the Treasury group that is familiar with how options that we have, familiar with how to structure these transactions, familiar with seeing the full execution from start to finish. I'm amazed that Haley and her team was able to put this together in 45 days, and just very excited to present this to you today. Excited to share that we're able to do this for others in my travels and talking to people. It's just I can't stress enough. It's one of the things we do really well, and it's because of the way we're structured. And I guess
if I could just give it to Mark and Joe, who worked very closely with Haley, and the fact is that the bank we were using for pool loan prior to this was a much larger bank that had a lot of extra overhead and a lot of so this People's is more of a local bank out of Worcester, and understood a little bit more about our world. And so Mark, Joe, and Haley, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but this is the first loan with People's, right?
yes. Yeah. And Mark, I apologize. I was setting all the praise on Haley. I should have thrown you in there. Sorry about that, friend.
No, she did great. She did great by all of us. She did all of the heavy lifting. Joe and I threw some numbers at her, and she did all the work. So
she's awesome. We're very lucky to have her here.
Yep.
Well, thank you. And, and I don't know what the function of like bringing it to People's, it's always good to keep it, more local, right? What we're here for. And on a personal note, it was the largest loan I've ever put my signature on. So
Haley called it a small loan,
Yeah.
and it offended Mark. So
Yeah. I did a double take.
I know Mark was sweating when he came to grab my signature. So
Mark, can I ask a question now? With the loan closed, where do we stand on the cash on hand? Because I know we said that was going to be reset once the loan is closed.
So we've got
that's correct. Yeah. So we've taken 2 draws off of the loan, totaling just under 5 million. So we're back in line. So yeah.
Yeah, that's older, so it wouldn't reflect it in that.
Yeah, not reflected in the materials.
That's in the board book. That's through August.
Yeah,
right.
September 30th. Yeah.
Yep.
If we can go quickly through the peak shaving stuff, Tom.
Yeah, real quick. Many of you are already familiar with the benefits of behind the meter peak shaving, the benefits of the batteries in your system, the benefits of the generation you have in your system. Just real quickly, Wakefield has 3.45 megawatts of remotely dispatched batteries. It has, if you go to the next page, what is that number again? Approximately 5 megawatts of instructed dispatch in generation. And if you go to the page after that, the 8.45 megawatts of behind the meter generation. This number does not include the benefits of connected homes, and it does not include the new energy park. So this number is only going to get greater. But I mentioned all this because if you go to the very next page, there's significant dollars associated with that 8.45 megawatts. If MWIC does its job well, and I'll sing the praises of the analyst group that meets daily to determine when and why to call peaks. if we capture that 1 hour, again, capturing that 1 hour, the highest hour in the year, which we've done this year and have done regularly for the last 10 years, that's $45,000 in savings per megawatt. If we capture each of the 12 months transmission peaks, which we've done to date for this year, and feel confident we'll have done for December as well, that's $185,000 per megawatt. So as I said, it's in terms of Wakefield specific for 2025, those behind the meter assets, the 8.45 megawatts times $230,000 per megawatt, that's equated to just under $2 million in an avoided cost savings just for the year 2025. And so people sometimes forget the magnitude that can come along with those behind the meter projects, but they're substantial, and it's a huge part of not a huge part. It's a big part of Wakefield's overall risk mitigation and a tool in doing what we've spoken about so much tonight, which is providing reliable, cheap, stable rates. And so if you go to the next page, it's just a little color. Some would question me and say, hey, Tom, you're getting a little aggressive on thinking you can capture all those peaks. I offer this to you. If you go back to 2017, the MWIC team that I'm lucky to work with has captured 92% of the Eversource transmission peaks, 91% of the National Grid transmission peaks, and 7 of the 8 last annual capacity peaks. And so those numbers I provided just a minute ago, just below 2 million, are real numbers because MWIC has a great track record, and we take great pride in our abilities in calling peaks. It's no simple task. Again, I can't take credit. It's the group of analysts that I'm lucky to work with that do such a tremendous job in this front.
Tom, just a compliment to your team. It doesn't just happen. I mean, you guys are great at the forecasting, great with communications. I mean, phone calls, emails, monitoring off-hour and weekend peaks that that occur unplanned, and you have a great success rate. So you do a great job, and your team is great to work with as well.
Yeah, and I don't think it's noticed that the capacity peak this year most likely will be a peak that came on us and it came an hour early, and then what caught that and started our resources an hour early. Yep. And so that's huge. The chance that we missed that capacity peak would have cost us a lot of money for the year. And it looks like most likely we hit that because MWEC was staying on top of it, realized the forecast was running behind actual, and they started everything an hour earlier. If I'm correct, Tom?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And it's funny. It was shortly thereafter that it was I forget, either the NEP, was it the meme conference or the NEPA conference? Everybody was griping, it was an hour earlier than we thought. And I was just sitting there gloating, but that's beside the point. I apologize. Someone gave me gave MWIC a great compliment. Who was that?
David Polson.
David, thank you so much for mentioning that. I can't tell you how much that means to me that you shared that. We meet daily at 10:30. I'm going to share your comments tomorrow with the group. Thank you for saying that.
And this call is recorded, so you can play it back if you need to.
There you go. So my Reek spelling is now documented and will never be forgotten.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right.
We share the video.
We gotta take the good with the bad.
The video will be posted tomorrow.
There you go. There's some connected home things to share here, some of the particulars, but I would just be reading to you some of the components. If you like, we can go through it, but I feel as if I've taken a lot of your time already and tried to stuff a bunch of things in your lap. But that's a quick overview of the Wakefield portfolio. I truly mean this. You have a general manager that is really engaged in what he's doing on a daily basis with his team, and it's a pleasure to work with Pete and his team, and we're lucky to have Wakefield as one of our members.
Great work.
Thank you.
We value the relationship.
Thank you, Tom and Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
Very informative as always, and questions are always good. Any last questions or anything?
Keep up
Thanks,
good
man.
work.
Yeah, keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Well, Pete has my cell phone. If anyone has, I'm one of those guys that thinks of great things the day after. If you think of something you'd like to discuss, please give me a shout. If not, I wish you all a tremendous holidays and look forward to talking with you again. Well, hopefully before a year from now, but definitely at least a year from now.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. You all have a great night.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Ryan.
Take care, guys.
Anyways, moving on to old business, energy park, any project updates?
The generator started this month and we were able to, we're pretty sure we hit the transmission peak for the month so far, based on the forecast for the rest of the month. So, that was great. And we had a capacity scarcity event this month as well. So, or was that the end of the last month?
It was.
No, this month, yeah, no.
So there was a capacity scarcity event since our last meeting. So there was a loss of a major unit, which creates a lot of price fluctuation and, the fact that we have so much resource that we're able to pull together.
Did we started up during the scarcity?
Yeah. It was that Sunday.
I think that was last month.
Yeah, it was the Sunday of Thanksgiving weekend. Yeah.
I remember getting an alert on.
It was the 30th. I remember getting an alert on a plane in Iceland. So.
So the units started remotely. And
Yeah, they were able to start everything remotely, which is great. So
yeah. So the fact we can start units remotely really helps because time is of the essence when they see that. And if we have to call people in to go to the site, we would make it. So for the generators, because the batteries they need to be dispatched quickly and they do that remote. The generators, we do it remote. We can do it remote. So MWEC has control and they'll call me and tell me that what's going on. And then they'll ask if they can start the generators and they'll start them in minutes. And then we'll call somebody in just in case there's a problem. So it's
really on a typical day, if we know there's going to be a peak forecasted, we'll try to start them an hour early because if we do have issues, we can debug them. In a case like this, where it's a scarcity event, we'll start it remotely. And if one of them doesn't start, we'll have parties on the way in anyway. So.
Yeah.
Other than that, as you know, the financing went through, and the major work on the energy park now is all the interconnections. We have the two resources in place and running, connected to the system separately through separate switches. And the first quarter next year and into the June timeframe, we'll be bringing the whole microgrid together. So they've been working on in the new switchgear building on all that stuff. UPG has been in to work on that. So
yeah, they're about 90 with their testing, and then we have some other work to do, but it's moving right along.
And solar is we'll hopefully start the solar on the tech releases the roof to us in February or March. We'll hopefully get the solar on the roof of the tech going in the early spring.
That'd be online like
For September.
For September.
Yeah. And then hopefully right after that, we'll be working on the high school. It's a matter, in both cases, it's a matter of when do they release the roof to us, so.
Okay.
All right,
Those are
any
the major things.
project questions from anyone? All right, moving on to new business, section 1, our annual IT update from Jeff. Anything from you, Pete, first before floor to Jeff?
Jeff wanted me to heap praise on him. So Jeff is doing an amazing job. He is killing it. And I think Jeff's got a tough job because he's all by himself usually, and he's trying to please 42 other customers, which is everybody in the building. So it ranges from Pete's PDF won't work to print the board book to, the customer information system is not working. So his troubleshooting skills are put on a test on a daily basis. So we truly appreciate that. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jeff.
All right, thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm going to share my screen. And can anybody see it yet? No, I forgot to hit the share button. That helps.
I'll get the IT to help us out.
That'll do.
Yeah, no. There we go. How's that?
Yes, looks great.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for giving me the time. I won't take up too much of it. This is our 2025 IT update, year in review. We'll start with one that I had hoped would be live by now, but we hit a bit of a hurdle with getting Silver Blaze up and running. And the hurdle was that we weren't able to get hourly reads pulled in for certain types of meters. And so we needed to resolve that. Silver Blaze, unbeknownst to us, had never actually worked with a customer who, although we use Itron, we use a segment of Itron called Temetra they had never worked with before. So that was a bit of a snag that we had to get past. It took a while, but after some troubleshooting, it led us to have to request the resources at Itron to build a custom, what's called an application programming interface, or an API, that would allow Silver Blaze to grab all of the reads, regardless of what kind of meters they were coming from. In the beginning, I mean, the issue and its resolution makes sense now. But at the time, I was thinking this seems convoluted, but whatever we had to do, we'll do to get this done. And now that I see all the pieces fitting together, it looks great. So the new API will allow the reads from every type of meter we have in the field to be pulled in accurately, and with only a few exceptions, those reads will be hourly as of the day before. It'll be a nightly draw or a nightly pull. So that is the situation with Silver Blaze. I wish it were done now, but we will keep pushing on.
Does that increase more traffic with the nightly API draw, or is that still the same amount of bandwidth that is needed?
No, it's not. It's not really gonna affect bandwidth at all. No.
Okay.
These are just, it's a file that gets pulled in, and Silver Blaze just grabs the data that it needs just for that customer. So it shouldn't be too it's not intensive at all. Hang on, let me get Zoom out of the way. There we go. Okay, so future cybersecurity efforts. First of all, we went to a new password policy. Although we used strong passwords before, even strong passwords are able to be cracked pretty easily by the newer tools the bad actors are using. So we went to what's called a passphrase. I don't know if anyone's heard of that yet, but passphrases are what we're using. And I do need to move the board members over to the passphrases. So I'll have to work with each of you to get your password updated. So we can work on that, after the new year, we'll start that. Further network separation between the town's corporate network and ours. Putting a divide between the town, their corporate network, and ours. Prior to changing to a new network configuration, I think I talked about that 2 years ago. We were fairly heavily tied to the town's network. Now we're pretty well separated, with the exception of a few printers that just need to be migrated over. And that will make the separation complete. We are also going to be replacing firewalls to newer models this year, is the plan. Multi-factor authentication, or MFA, for SCADA. The MFA is actually going to be applied at the VPN level. So if someone wants to access SCADA, they're going to VPN in, but at the VPN level, they'll have to go through the MFA process. So it stops them right there. It's been fully tested, and we're pretty well set to apply it to every user. Those who have been using it have had no problems. I'll briefly discuss more about some of the really cool things, the great things that we've done with the SCADA system in another slide later. MFA for Office 365 accounts. This one's ready to roll out to all users, and I'll be rolling it out fairly soon after the year. And yes, that will include the board members because you do use the email and all that. So we will get you up to date as well. Jen, speaking of tabletop exercises, we had utility services put our what's called a CSIRP, or a cybersecurity incident response plan, through its paces. Now, when we discussed them doing it, this was only supposed to cover just the corporate side of our network, but utility services decided to have what I'm sure they thought was fun, and apply the test to every aspect of our business. So it included SCADA, corporate, physical locations, every substation, and even the sky was included in this. So it was unexpected, but the good news is our CSIRP held up with with the need for very few minor changes to it. So I was happy about that. We're not moving. There we go. Okay. Jurnix. This is a project Pete gave me a few months back. It's pretty exciting to me. We're implementing a new timesheet entry system. Okay, it's not live yet, but we will be running parallel testing fairly soon to go live, but we've been configuring it for the last several months. It is more eco-friendly in that we are going to stop using the paper for our timesheet entry and handing it all in, all that stuff. We're getting off of that. But also it's a much more efficient process for timekeeping. There's records of what gets entered, who enters it, who edits it. It's a very robust system, and it also comes with digital approvals up the ladder. So we're pretty excited about the direction we're going with this one. It's going to make everybody's timesheets a little easier to input. The outage management system. We migrated to a new, much more beefy or robust server. The server is able to handle not just our OMS, but our GIS software, our mapping, and a whole bunch of other things that were all over the place on other servers, but now are unified on one server. Much more efficient process. Big change there. And for the new version of this OMS, we did have to make two protocol jumps in what's called multi-speak. It's the protocol that allows our call center to push information from calls into the OMS, but we had to do a couple of jumps to get to where we are now. So we're pretty happy about that. There are a couple of customer-facing changes that will be rolling out soon. One is an online form for outages, meaning you don't have to call, you can fill it out online. That information is going to get pushed right into our outage management system. It doesn't go to an email or something. It's direct to OMS. Also, we're going to be using an IVR system that sends messages out to customers when their power goes out. We don't have that right now. So your meter, for whatever reason, stops sending data out. Our side gets it, and you'll get a message in email or text or whatever, voice, saying, "Hey, we know your power's out." And that's going to save the customer a lot of time with having to, call and try to find out if we know or not. And there's some cost savings as well pretty substantial cost savings on that.
We are gonna have to customize that message to make sure that we don't eliminate physical damage knowledge, because one of the values of talking to the customer is you need to find 800 people call, say their lights are out. There's one person that knows that they heard a loud boom in front of their house,
Yep.
and that's the one we want. So we're gonna make sure that that message is customized so that, you know, if you're aware of a physical problem or you saw something, please call. But we'll cut down the other call volume. If you were just gonna call to say your lights are out, the more of that type of call we can push off, the better.
I know there was during the website when we had folks in giving feedback. One of the things that stuck out that someone requested was in our OMS system here, publishing to put in the bubble the duration that it has been occurring. So if there was a way to say like, hey, we detected this and this has been occurring for 15 minutes, 1 hour, to have the ability to see the you know, an ongoing outage duration. Is that something that can be, I'll say this, with easily incorporated, or is that?
You mean like
I'll answer it this way. No, but yes. Easily, no, we are working on that, and we
Okay.
do want it, but there's some programming that has to take place on Empower's the vendor that has made our outage management system. They've got to kind of create that tool for that, but it is in the works for sure. So
Okay, awesome, thank you.
You're
So Sharon, so this
the
was, yeah, so where this,
maps?
yeah, this map where this one is.
Yeah.
The request was like this one. How long has this been ongoing for? Is this outage,
Okay.
you know, 5 minutes,
Okay.
30?
One of the things you have to remember is that we call it out, it's an incident. In Wakefield, it's an incident management system. So it might be pertaining to fix a street light, and all of a sudden, depending on how we display this, the street light could be out for.
Okay, so this isn't just the meter out like this.
Right, yeah,
this
we
is
have to
not-
make
Okay.
sure that we program it. So
That makes
it's
even
something
more
we,
sense than.
it's something we can do, but there's a lot involved in it. It's not just,
Yeah. I didn't
we
realize-
use it,
Yeah.
we use it for all incidents.
I didn't realize that this is tracking. I thought that this was only tracking meters that are no longer.
It could be, but there's other things
There's
that
other
get into
things.
the outage. So we have to just make sure the program is correct.
There's gonna be a message going out to the customers. The customer can figure out how long they've been out.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, at that time, the IVR wasn't on the like that's new.
Yeah.
Knowledge to me, and I don't think that was shared with the customers that were participating in the feedback.
no,
We just have to be
it's very
careful how
new.
we do the other stuff, yeah.
Yeah, no, this is very new.
Right.
So,
Did you-
moving on.
Actually, can I ask a quick question or two?
Sure.
Did you say, well, I guess one comment is that it sounds like the outage form might be a place to collect, if, as you mentioned, information that the customer either heard or saw if they're using that form of communication to report. Is that something, I'm assuming this form will be pretty tight, but is that something that would be on the form?
It will be typed, but there is a comment section.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did I hear you say that the outage form goes straight into the OMS? In other words, like without filter or check?
No, okay, so you can't do like,
You can't like TikTok it.
No,
TikTok
no,
report.
no,
Yeah. Okay.
it's very much locked down to what it can take.
Blow up the
and
system.
Great.
There's no SQL injections, none of that. No.
Okay. I just wanted to check that there was some control.
Yeah. No,
Spamming or whatever you call it. Inaccurate reporting.
yeah, no, it'll be pretty tight.
Okay.
So yeah, good question though, fair. Okay, so moving on, I'm not sure if everyone's aware, October of 25, Microsoft said no more support for Windows 10. Bummer, I liked Windows 10, but what are you gonna do? So I've spent the year upgrading everyone's computers to Windows 11, and we are good with that. So that was done. Okay, this is the one I was talking about earlier. We've actually upgraded all the SCADA servers and software. The electric and gas SCADA software has been migrated to new servers. we've moved from a remote desktop method of accessing the SCADA system over to a web-based method called Virtual ViewX, which is really cool. And also we've configured access so that everyone has to VPN into the SCADA network, even if they're in the office, which is a big deal because that puts that separation between corporate and SCADA, which is strongly suggested and desired, and so we've got that. Moving on. Okay, and the energy park, we've talked a lot about it, but I'm excited. The network infrastructure, that's all been configured, it's up and running, and that's cool. But the really cool thing is we have all the video we need of the construction from beginning of the project all the way to the end. And that the top picture there, this is really cool. That's the cornerstone that's being laid. That's the very first piece of construction that was laid on there. And I was pretty excited to capture that cornerstone. Everything else was built out from that one rock, a piece of concrete. And then the last one, the bottom picture is the big generator, which was the last piece of equipment or structure that was being put in. So we've got all the video. Now we're going to begin putting together a promo video, which is cool. I've never been part of a production team for movies, but hey, this will be awesome. And so yeah.
That's awesome.
And that is where we are for the year. Thank you for your time and thank you for all you do for us.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Jeff.
All right. Have a good night, y'all.
Jeff did a great job. He was given 12 minutes. I stopped it for questions too, so you nailed it.
We don't include the conversation outside of my speech.
No,
So
I stopped it anytime you got a question.
very
So
good.
You did dead on. Awesome job.
All right. Have a good night.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Have a good
Bye.
night. Happy holidays.
Same to you.
Right. Moving on. Okay, the 2025 lead bank, I know we chatted about, but the award, there's
Yeah,
more
I think
discussion.
we've talked about it.
Okay.
Is there anything else anybody wants to add?
Yeah.
It was a great day. Got to meet some really cool people. And
You got an interview.
yeah, it hasn't been on yet though. I haven't
From-
with WBZ radio. I'm waiting for the big promotion. My daughter's like, can I even find that? I'm like, what is that?
What is a radio?
Yeah, exactly. So potentially we'll be on BZ radio.
Yeah, I really wanted to attend. Unfortunately, I was traveling for work and was not in the state. So, but thank you, Jen and Sharon, for going and representing the board.
Yeah, we were excited to
Yeah.
be there. Great event.
Cool. All right. The 26th meeting schedule. Anyone have any edits or changes?
You know, I just wanted to add, this leading by example event, the Rebecca Tepper was there and she presented, awards, to the awardees and then also the commissioner, DOER,
Mahoney.
Mahoney.
Yep.
Yeah, and so it was a big deal for them. So to be recognized by them, I think the highest levels of our
Yeah.
government were there. Aside from the governor.
That's awesome.
Kudos.
But yeah, I think it's a testament to the team that you've put together and the projects that you bring forth, and just continue doing that. And I think we'll get some more awards. We might have to authorize some capital budget to build a bigger shelf.
I was gonna say,
We'll need
we're
a.
gonna take over part of Mark's office and build an insert.
Yeah. We should do that.
All right.
What is this letter that's in the back of the
It was a thank you letter for, I think this one was about the calendars.
calendars?
Yeah. We get these every year from people that will send calendars to, or they request a calendar, and the people really appreciate it. So Maureen got this a couple weeks ago or whatever, so she said we should include it. So the people that really appreciate the calendars, they go way back. I had an interesting story. So the chief operating officer of Southern Cal Electric is on the ESCC with me. And so last year he introduced himself and he's like, I have a strong connection to Wakefield. My wife grew up there, or my wife's family grew up there. She grew up in California, but it turns out that the Burns Park is named after Judy Wallace's grandfather. He was an employee here. He was killed in the line of duty. That's where Burns Park came from. So, so Judy was at the open house, and Judy was Bill Wallace, my predecessor's wife. So it was her grandfather. So we're coordinating when we dedicate the park in the spring that Judy's brother is the one that lives in California, that this guy is married to his daughter. So he said that he comes to Wakefield every year at some point during the year and he loves the calendars. So last year I sent him a couple of calendars. So he thanked me for the calendars. He's like, hey, we're coming back out at Christmas. I'm like, well, come by the office and grab some more calendars. And so it's a small world. So he's going to come out. He's going to try to come out for the dedication in the spring. So
That's great.
It is really a small world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, back to any changes to the proposed schedule? Anything?
We good so far?
Obviously we can
Change it. Right now, no conflict for the first few.
I mean,
Yeah,
Huh?
no conflicts on the first few, but you never know.
Yeah, I was going to say
Anyway, it might change, so.
it was a starting point anyway. So this is basically consistent with where we start every year. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I was confused by Jack's message, so I wonder if we should reach out and see if he is.
I don't know what was convoluted, but
I don't know. It seemed pretty straightforward to me, but
well, it's the same schedule we give every year.
so I don't know whether he had feedback
Yeah.
and we just missed
he
it.
has not provided any outside of that message, so, again, we can change it if needed on an ad hoc basis. All right. Any matters not anticipated by myself?
Well, I just wanted to get the update of the customers in the info session.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
All right.
So
Have a
I
great
guess starting off, the info session went really well. Joe can speak about that too. He kind of ran that. If you want.
Yeah, we had a pretty good turnout. I think it topped out at like 36 people.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
36?
yeah, not
Wow.
too bad, honestly. Biggest one since the community solar at the library. I think a year ago or 2 years ago, I forget. But yeah, no, it was good. A lot of good questions. There was at least like 10 questions or so. So I may go back and take maybe one or two of those and add it to the frequently asked questions that's already on the website.
So Joe, what question that you felt was that you didn't anticipate, and which questions stumped you a little bit, if there was one?
I think one of the questions that I didn't anticipate was someone asked about a fireplace and like whether they can have the fireplace and be on like the all electric rate. And so we just clarified that it was like just a wood burning fireplace and not like a gas powered one. But I thought that was I liked that one. That was an interesting one. And then I think one of the more intricate questions I think was a question about like um when the billing starts as far as like what bill is going to be the first one that gets it and what usage is it going to be. And so everybody's going to get it on their December bill, but I think there was a nuanced question with that piece. So um that was, I guess, a more intricate question, a very personal, like a personalized question to that person. Um but yeah, I think that was one of the big questions, or a couple of the questions that stood out to me.
I have a couple just stats. Joe and I gathered these this afternoon. So assuming no one else has submitted a form, they're pretty accurate. So we were able to identify 942 units from rentals that are all electric and have heat pumps. Of those, we've gotten 620 of them converted. The remaining ones are at Quantapowhat Parkway. So that's still under construction. So that's why those have not been converted to the new rate yet. They're still doing work there. Other than
Rate A?
They'll be on rate A. Yeah.
No, so
yeah,
rate
they're
A.
all on rate A. Other than that, for the forms we've received for single families, we've gotten 85 forms. We've been able to switch over 74 of those properties between rates A and B. The remaining of those, we are waiting to either verify that they have a heat pump or do not have fossil fuel. Or we've contacted them to make sure that they have used the bill calculator, just because there are a few customers who filled out the form, but the rate may not be in their best interest. So we just want to make sure they have all the information before they switch. So overall, we have for just single family homes, or I guess non-rental, we have 22 customers on rate A and 63 customers on rate B, just for the customers who have filled out the form. And then we will, once everyone is switched over, as of what the information we have now, we'll have 964 customers on rate A and 63 on rate B. And hopefully we get some more forms from customers coming in. But that's where we're at right now.
That's great.
I will also, personally, I, filled out the form, went through the process. I got an email from Liv saying that, my home was identified. And, please fill out the form. Did so, and it was, easy and painless. And then my tenant also filled it out because that was actually prior to any rebates. We did not have knowledge of that here, and they just needed to do it on site. It was very, very easy to do and show. So just as personal experience.
Yeah. Did you try using the calculator?
I did. Yeah, I already had my number. Like the calculator bared out what I had already known. But for someone that isn't looking at this daily, I think that the calculator is a very handy tool. And like I said, there were a lot of questions and things. If you want it, there's a Reddit for Wakefield, Mass. There's a and community there, and I think a lot of users there are come more on the technical, knowledgeable side, and dive deep into things. So immediately there was a lot of questions and a lot of this is great. Thank you for Wakefield for doing this type of work.
So where do you think customers are getting their information, like about what's the biggest I guess channel for getting information about the heat pumps? How do you think people?
So I guess in terms of learning about the rate that we're offering, we posted the info session on Facebook and Instagram and our website. Then we posted the recording as well as the link to the form. We've also emailed people. So from the information I could find on rebates that we had in the office, we sent an email to anyone who has applied for a heat pump rebate. I believe it was from do you remember what years we did, Joe?
2020
It was
on.
the
2021
the last 5 years, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So 2021 on, I sent out an email to all of those customers, just letting them know about the info session. This was prior to the info session. And then just the details. And Joe and I have created a webpage for it on our website too, detailing the information.
Great.
Yeah, I signed up and used the calculator, and I think it's pretty straightforward. But yeah, I could, certainly there may be people who need some help with the calculator. So hopefully they'll reach out if they need a hand,
Yeah, definitely.
And so,
go
oh,
ahead,
sorry.
Pete.
No, we've given them a couple ways to verify if they're trying to get the heat pump rate A and they have to be completely off fossil fuel. We've given them a couple ways. A, have an energy audit if you haven't had one done in the
Right.
past couple of years. Or B, we've trained Abdir, you've met Abdir. Abdir and Joe and Liv have been working on the program to go out and visit individual houses and verify that they're completely off fossil fuel. So they've already done physical visits. He's done a few already, right?
I think we're up to 5 or 6 that he's done. He has another couple scheduled tomorrow. So, and people have been really receptive to that idea of him coming out.
Great.
So we have kind of set the bar that you have to prove to us that you're not, we're not going to just take, hey, I'm not on fossil fuel. No, we have to prove that you're not on fossil fuel.
As we should.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Great. Well, thanks for doing all of this and getting it going so quickly because it was a really tight time frame to get everybody signed up. So really appreciate it. And I know the customers that have reached out to me that I've talked to really appreciate it as well. I did share that information with the Environmental Sustainability Committee. They've been touting it in all their pages, sharing the information in the news. So getting out there, which is great.
Amazing to get 7% of the customers
Yeah.
signed up on a rate in what?
That's quick work.
Yeah. A lot of that work has been Liv and the whole office team converting people over because each one of there's not like some batch thing we can do. Every one of them has to be touched. They have to be looked at in a little more detail. If they, for some reason, they were already billed without the right rate, they have to be put on the right. So they have to cancel the bill, put them on the new bill. Like there's been a lot of work. Harold and Liv have been working hard for the past 2 weeks on this.
He's a good emotional support when I get tired of doing
That's why
it.
he's exhausted today.
Yeah.
Thank you for all of your hard work. I know that, that stuff can be time consuming, tedious, and require a lot of due diligence. So I appreciate all the efforts.
Yeah, and it did make a difference receiving a personal email from a human being. So that really felt special in a day when we don't get a lot of those, right? So it was nice.
And honestly, the timing of this couldn't have been better. But that was quick work on your part.
Well, from concept
Yeah, from concept to delivery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that we came up with, we proposed this like 4 months ago, so. That's a lot of that structure in that rate was Joe and Liv together, that we've done a lot to get this up and running this fast is pretty solid.
Yeah, and it's another, I do think it's a leading by example because we're, I think, the only gas and electric that has this kind of a rate. So I've been talking to pretty much everybody I know about how interesting this is. And I think it's an interesting thing to get out there. I think it's new and it's different.
All right. Any other comments or anything? All right.
Can I ask just one quick one? A couple of months ago, we talked about potentially installing another battery.
We're still looking at that.
And that-
Yeah. They've come back with a proposal, but we have to look at the loading on that side of town. And make sure that we're not going to be constantly,
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's still a concept that we're evaluating.
Okay.
We'd love to get some new load over on that side of town. We're lobbying hard for a data center over on.
You are.
I am.
Well, it's interesting because I heard data centers are actually targeting municipals.
Yes, because we're cheaper.
Actually, that brings up it's something in the new.
If you know anybody that wants to put a data center in Edgewater, we can figure out a way to make that work.
I'm sure you advertise, they'll come. But it's something that wanted to bring up at the beginning of the year, but we should potentially be looking at like a data center rate.
Joe, what did I ask you to do last week to start looking at?
Yeah, those were your exact words.
Yeah, especially with some of the, not to get too far down into this, but
What do you mean by a data center rate?
well, so the way rate structures are built, there's an inequity and it's more of a subsidy of general ratepayers, residential, commercial, that subsidize the infrastructure that is required to run the data center from an electrical side, from, all the transmission.
The costs are socialized.
The costs are socialized and, unfortunately, the data centers take a lot of that socialization incorrectly. So there is, and this work is being done at, both the national level and I even think a global level, that those rates need to be structured in a way that it is, doesn't put the burden of these data centers onto the regular consumers of businesses and homes. So just want to make sure that we're in a position to have that.
Yeah, and how we would structure it.
Yeah.
So when we did have the data center at the head of the lake years ago, they paid all the capital costs to upgrade anything physical that was needed to be upgraded to serve them. And they were targeting, I think, potentially up to 10 megawatts, but they ended up being about 2 to 3 when they finally were fully loaded. But they talk about you're signing the loan for 8.7 million. I went into Boston and picked up a check for 1.5 million. And he handed me the check and walked back out the door. So I carried back to Wakefield a check for 1.5.
Yeah, it's and those loads, from a data center perspective, there's some staggering numbers. New build outs are doing 800 volt DC bus bars is kind of a minimum. Racks are starting at, which is 1.5 by 1.5 floor tile, 220 kV is kind of the entry level. The next GPU that NVIDIA is releasing, only 4% of the world's data centers will be capable of powering those. So when you kind of think about the numbers are staggering of what these things are going to start asking for. Texas has 2 data centers that are probably about the size of 2 football fields that are over 1 terawatt each building. So like not gigawatts, terawatt. It's just, so I would love to have,
I think what you're going to start to see is those are great. I think if the demand continues to grow, you're going to see pockets. Like,
absolutely.
You're going to have to see smaller ones because, Wakefield, we have some capacity out of Wallace that we could serve.
Yeah.
But it's not a terawatt.
No, I mean, the pass on that one.
Yeah.
Unless you go up.
Yeah.
You will, some of the neo clouds, which are they call them like boutique type clouds, but they're very focused on GPUs and that type of stuff. But I definitely think if we advertise that we're willing to do an interconnect, we're going to get applications.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the things. And there's a plan right now that there's a new owner of Edgewater on Audubon Road. And they're talking about doing residential development in the front, but they still want to keep the commercial space in the back. And it would probably be an ideal location to, from a system perspective, would be an ideal location for us to try to bring capacity out there.
With also on that side, kind of just changing gears a little bit, the EV charging station facility, that bring a substantial load for the battery perspective, or is that just because it's too potentially intermittent?
So there'll be, I think we're planning on like 2 megawatts, for the.
So that, and we will be serving it on that side of town, so it will,
But
but we got to make sure we're not constantly in a situation of trying to
yeah,
move load back and forth and.
it's not.
Nothing against National Grid, but we don't want to give them power for free.
Yeah.
So we don't want it to transfer back to the transmission line
Gotcha.
going the other way. So we need to make sure that we're managing it so that we are, when they run it, it would be constantly loaded. So
That's going forward.
we love our friends at the grid, but we're not going to give them free power.
I don't want you to.
Well, it is worth having the conversation about rates and the larger conversation because there's all different kinds of provisions and from an economic development standpoint, I'm sure that our town would be interested in being aware of this and being a part of it. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, the good news about data centers is it's load and it's solid, like it's not variable load. It's it's pretty much a straight line.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they ever have renewable generation on the roof as an example. And I don't know if they,
So some of them do, because they do, they all are, have battery, now. A lot of them are, even
would help too.
being isolated grid from, and, they are deploying renewables. They are,
Don't they have behind the meter
yeah,
generation
they have
that serves
behind the backup
Because
generation
they have their
battery.
generation?
sometimes they bring their own, but that's typically not renewable.
Yeah.
Um,
But, as a municipality, potentially,
Yeah.
Serve their own load.
Well, the generator, we had Milton Cat with us last week when we did a presentation, and Dave, how many were, it was like 104 of those, that same generator. I think there's a big project they're working on that there's 104 of those generators going into.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah. The data centers are the big thing for them now.
Yeah.
Of putting them on data.
So that one generator we have at the energy park, there was a site that has 104 of those.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah, so we might want to talk about that and figure out what our thoughts are about those kind of things.
It's very, we're one piece of that from power, but there are other, community implications, I
Yeah.
think.
Definitely.
A lot of the data centers are bringing the generators for backup power, or contingency rather than backup, because they're only getting one feed from the utilities.
Yeah.
They're also requesting uninterruptible load and to be served first before any other community members are served in the event of an outage.
Correct.
Which is problematic and from
Like
a
I
water
said,
standpoint.
I think.
So we have some material.
We have some
to discuss.
material and some work, and it was, it's funny that you bring it up because it was, kind of top of mind for my, I know that we had one, but yeah, it doesn't mean that one wouldn't come back, and, I want to.
And again, I think
ahead of that.
what I talked to Joe about is us putting out there a spec that what we can deliver and talking about cost and, all those things and soliciting somebody, because the load is the best kind of load you could, so. All right. And the more we fully utilize our substation capacity, the better. Yeah. Good.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. Anything else before we adjourn?
Do we need to approve meeting minutes from the last 3 minutes in executive session or?
No, that will be next meeting in
Okay.
January. Yeah, so
Great.
all of those requests that I received for I'm blanking on, just for agenda items will be done in January, including all of the minutes as well. One other thing, which both Mike and Pete informed, the executive minutes once approved do become public, so just.
So the case has to be closed.
Yep.
So we'll discuss all those things in January.
Okay.
All right. Like to make a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
I
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays.